Envision unearthing archaic stone slabs inscribed millennia in the past, detailing formidable entities who arrived from the firmament, instructed mankind in sophisticated science, arithmetic, and engineering, and molded culture as we know it. This appears as a narrative lifted directly from a cinematic production, correct? Yet remarkably, this is precisely what the early Sumerian people documented on earthen tablets, carved with meticulous care in a script that scholars have dedicated centuries to interpreting. The Sumerian society prospered approximately from 500 to 900 years before the Common Era in a region presently identified as Iraq, establishing what experts commonly acknowledge as mankind's initial genuine society. They bestowed upon the world written language, devised progressive numerical frameworks, instituted intricate judicial structures, and even charted the celestial bodies with breathtaking accuracy. They inhabited flourishing metropolitan centers, such as Ur and Uruk, erected intricate sanctuaries called ziggurats, and engineered canal networks that changed arid terrain into productive agricultural land. To summarize, the Sumerians were not merely marginally advanced for their epoch. They were centuries in advance, setting the groundwork for understanding we continue to employ now. However, the element that renders the Sumerians genuinely perplexing and ignites perpetual discussion among academics is their meticulous records concerning the Anunnaki. As per their age-old writings, the Anunnaki were entities who came down from the skies, wielded remarkable wisdom, and engaged directly with people. These records tell of such beings shepherding mankind's progress, bestowing understanding of celestial study, mathematics, farming, and administration, disciplines in which the Sumerian people, in fact, showed unmatched progress. Conventionally, established scholars understand these narratives as allegorical legends, metaphorical stories designed to clarify environmental occurrences or offer ethical direction. Still, the precise character of these portrayals provokes fascinating queries. Were the Anunnaki simply metaphorical characters symbolizing deities and elemental powers? Or might these records contain altered recollections of genuine historical happenings, perhaps encounters with more developed human societies, or even a phenomenon we have not yet comprehended? In this presentation, we are not pursuing unfounded conjectures or extreme guesses, but we are examining authentic archaeological finds, ancient tablets abundant with remarkable assertions and captivating puzzles. Researchers still cannot entirely clarify. Were the Anunnaki purely legendary divinities, allegorical tales, or might they signify dim remembrances of something considerably more incredible? The actuality stays ambiguous, but one fact is clear. These stone slabs are real, their deciphered texts are regarded seriously, and their portrayals of advanced understanding stay confusingly exact. Therefore, who or what precisely were the enigmatic Anunnaki? Were they genuinely only legendary beings fashioned by humankind's creativity? Or could they be fragments of an authentic segment in the human chronicle that has been lost or even intentionally concealed? You will desire to continue viewing, because disentangling the Anunnaki puzzle could potentially contest all we believed we understood about humanity's past. Let us begin. One of the most captivating puzzles concerning the Sumerian people is their extraordinary comprehension of celestial science, an awareness far exceeding what one might anticipate from an archaic society. More than 5 millennia ago, long prior to the existence of optical telescopes or contemporary devices, the Sumerians charted the nocturnal heavens with notable exactitude, correctly naming wandering stars, following stellar configurations, and even forecasting cosmic occurrences validated by present-day science. How specifically did they achieve this? Visualize yourself as an early Sumerian positioned below the pristine, obscure desert firmament evening after evening, possessing solely your vision and elementary measuring implements. Remarkably, the Sumerian civilization did not merely passively watch the cosmos. They recorded exact planetary motions and comprehended their individual trajectories. They understood that Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn were not typical fixed stars, but separate celestial bodies traveling along their own independent paths, a realization most societies would not achieve until considerably later periods. Earthen tablets revealed by researchers distinctly demonstrate this stunning particularity. These age-old documents not only reference planets but explain meticulously how they travel distinctly from stars. Consider Venus, for instance. Sumerian star watchers ascertained millennia ago that Venus manifested as both a dawn star and a twilight star, grasping this phenomenon long before other ancient peoples acknowledged these two apparitions as the identical planet. Their tablets monitored the movements of Venus with a precision so remarkable it continues to astonish contemporary astronomers. To frame this within a modern context, conceive of inquiring with an ordinary individual in the present day to list every planet. Many would likely state Pluto with assurance, overlooking its current non-classification as an official planet. However, thousands of years in the past, the Sumerian people correctly named and observed planets perceptible from our world, accomplishing this in a methodical and persistent manner absent any sophisticated apparatus. Even more startling, these tablets portray elaborate celestial charts displaying star groupings, precisely as we identify them now. How did the Sumerian civilization produce such accurate maps without present-day instruments? Might it genuinely stem solely from diligent scrutiny of the skies over successive generations? Or did they possess entry to some other influence directing their studies? The mystery underpinning their cosmic science was bolstered by another progressive talent, mathematics. The Sumerian culture formulated a distinctive numeral framework rooted in the value 60, termed the sexagesimal arrangement. This enabled them to compute intricate fractions and sizable figures with ease, ideal for exact cosmic computations. The identical mathematical inheritance persists today each instance you observe a timepiece or quantify an arc in degrees. Excavators have unearthed numerous tablets laden with specific mathematical computations regarding lunar obscurations, planetary conjunctions, and even chronological systems forecasting future cosmic incidents. Among these artifacts rests the renowned Venus tablet from the reign of Ammisaduqa, a relic grounded in prior Sumerian astral customs. Originating from approximately the 17th century before the Common Era, this clay record exactly notes the cyclical patterns of Venus, stunning present-day star scientists who wonder at how antique individuals succeeded in predicting these sequences correctly without any technological assistance. Yet, here resides the authentic conundrum historians persistently deliberate. How specifically did the Sumerian populace attain such precise astronomical and mathematical understanding without modern implements? Most academics propose the most straightforward interpretation. Successive eras of attentive observation with committed scribes painstakingly documenting heavenly motions, slowly perfecting their comprehension across hundreds of years. Still, as logical as this rationale may seem, it yet departs with certain unresolved inquiries. How did the Sumerian civilization succeed in monitoring such delicate movements of remote planets absent optical telescopes? Could diligent scrutiny alone explain all their progressive discernments? Due to these persistent questions, certain investigators propose an alternative likelihood. Perhaps the Sumerian people inherited a portion of their astral and numerical wisdom from preceding societies, cultures now absent from historical record. Could ancient communities, like those accountable for locations such as Göbekli Tepe, constructed nearly 12,000 years ago, have swayed Sumerian knowledge, transmitting insights via cultural interactions we have not yet completely uncovered? Subsequently, There exist the engrossing tales contained within the tablets themselves, the legends regarding the Anunnaki. These narratives clearly describe entities originating from the celestial sphere instructing humankind in advanced astronomy, mathematics, and construction. Predictably, conventional historians construe these tales as allegorical or legendary. However, it is compelling how intimately the mythological instructions correspond with authentic archaeological revelations. The utilitarian implementations of Sumerian celestial science only intensify this enigma. They devised the earliest recognized calendars founded precisely on lunar stages, planetary journeys, and solar rotations. This permitted them to anticipate inundations, coordinate sowing periods, schedule their sacred ceremonies, and administer their civilization proficiently. Plainly, their diligent celestial observation was not merely for inquisitiveness, it was vital for their endurance and prosperity. Historians remain perplexed by the detailed and correct astronomical and mathematical information inscribed upon the clay tablets. Monitoring stars is one matter, but predicting planetary motions and cosmic cycles with such exactness appears to surpass simple human vision and rudimentary tools. Could the Sumerian people have acquired this through contact with advanced cultures, or inherited it from civilizations we have not yet entirely revealed? We must pose to ourselves, were the Sumerian civilization simply committed star watchers and mathematicians depending purely on perseverance and scrutiny? Or does there exist something truly exceptional behind their meticulous records? Could ancient legends of beings from the celestial expanse contain pieces of genuine encounters, interactions, or understanding transmitted across generations? As we proceed investigating these ancient puzzles, remain attentive, for the further we venture, the more peculiar and engrossing this narrative grows. What we reveal subsequently might simply reconfigure our comprehension of human history. Should we genuinely wish to decode the enigma surrounding the Anunnaki, we initially must discuss the extraordinary culture at the core of these tales, the ancient Sumerian people. Roughly from 4,500 to 1,900 years before the Common Era within a territory presently recognized as Iraq, the Sumerians constructed one of humanity's very earliest great societies, establishing groundwork we still rely upon currently. The location they named their residence Mesopotamia, signifying the territory amidst rivers, was situated between two vital waterways, the Tigris and Euphrates. This region was scorching, arid, and difficult to inhabit. Yet the Sumerian populace did not merely persist. They transformed it into a flourishing domain. They engineered complex canal networks to transport river water across the unforgiving wasteland, converting parched flatlands into productive farmland abundant with harvests and active urban centers. Envision archaic metropolises emerging in the midst of emptiness, teeming with marketplaces, crowded avenues, sanctuaries, and vibrant individuals trading commodities and concepts. Certain of these cities grew to become mythical, such as Uruk, and Eridu. Uruk specifically ranked among the first major cities in the Human Chronicle, residents to multitudes numbering in the tens of thousands. Existence there was energetic, with a bustling commercial district, animated spiritual celebrations, and striking architecture. It was authentically the nucleus of ancient society. However, what truly distinguished the Sumerian civilization was their pioneering innovations. Approximately 3,200 years before the Common Era, they devised the earliest known script, cuneiform, by imprinting wedge-shaped impressions into pliable clay tablets. Initially employed to document commercial transactions and animal herd tallies, cuneiform shortly broadened to incorporate legal codes, sacred narratives, and even celestial science. Owing to these clay tablets, we possess a remarkable portal into their universe, shifting us from speculating about prehistory to perusing factual historical accounts. The Sumerian people were not solely exceptional scribes. They were outstanding mathematicians and star watchers. They established a numerical framework founded on the digit 60, which we continue to utilize presently when indicating temporal passage and quantifying angular degrees. Even more remarkably, their astronomers diligently examined the firmament and monitored the motions of planets and stars precisely despite possessing no optical aids or contemporary instruments. Precisely how they accomplished such exact scrutiny stays a puzzle for scholars even now. And concerning structural design, the Sumerians erected astounding edifices known as ziggurats. Immense terraced pyramids crafted from countless sun-dried clay blocks. Imagine colossal towers coated in vibrant pigments ascending high above their municipalities, observable for great distances in every direction. The ziggurat located at a remains regarded as an architectural marvel, assembled with notable craftsmanship to endure steadfastly for multiple millennia. The Sumerian civilization was also profoundly pragmatic. They invented wheeled carts, devised elaborate irrigation ditches, and erected protective barriers and sewage conduits to maintain their cities secure and prosperous. Numerous items we deem fundamental today, like systematized urban planning, formal schooling, and even bookkeeping methods, can follow their roots back to these resourceful, ancient individuals. Archaeologists persist in unearthing astonishing new information regarding Sumerian urban centers. At the archaic city of Ur, for example, investigators uncovered an incredible royal burial site during the 1920s filled with stunning relics like golden adornments, intricate musical devices, and exquisite statuettes. These findings demonstrated that the Sumerians were not merely ingenious creators, but also artisans and skilled makers who fashioned a wealthy culture that continues to astound historians. Yet beyond their utilitarian achievements, the Sumerian populace was profoundly devout. They venerated deities who symbolized elemental powers like waterways, tempests, and bountiful yields. And among these celestial personas, the tablets often reference the Anunnaki, entities who allegedly came down from the skies to direct and affect humankind. The Anunnaki were not simply lesser gods in fleeting notations. They materialized recurrently in elaborate stories, engaging directly with individuals and molding the trajectory of human events according to Sumerian convictions. Presently, thousands of these ancient tablets have been uncovered, interpreted, and meticulously examined by historians globally. While many hold uncomplicated logs of commerce and routine life, others narrate tales of cosmic conflicts, origin legends, and exchanges between humans and potent beings like the Anunnaki. This presents us with a fascinating mystery. Did the Sumerians' remarkable technology, astronomy, and mathematical abilities evolve purely from their own trial and inventiveness? Or might their detailed myths contain dim recollections of actual, lost occurrences? Could the stories of the Anunnaki signify meetings or interactions that we do not yet entirely comprehend? Continue viewing, because what we intend to investigate next might entirely alter the manner in which you perceive human history. During our investigation, we have observed the remarkable achievements of the Sumerian civilization, precise celestial science, intricate mathematical systems, and astounding structural accomplishments. Inevitably, a query emerges: how did these ancient peoples acquire such progressive understanding? Most historians propose conventional clarifications such as successive eras of meticulous scrutiny or information exchange through commerce. However, there exists another fascinating and intensely disputed hypothesis that we have not completely examined. Might the Sumerian narratives concerning entities from the sky indicate something more phenomenal? Now, before you begin imagining extraterrestrials arriving in disc-shaped aircraft as depicted in cinematic productions, let us hesitate. What we are confronting here are enigmatic ancient inscriptions painstakingly etched onto clay tablets millennia ago, not sensational unidentified aerial phenomena reports. Yet still, these stories describe beings named the Anunnaki arriving from the heavens to instruct humanity in advanced science, mathematics, agriculture, and even urban design. Could these tales simply be ancient folklore, or might they be faint reverberations of authentic historical meetings? Let us thoughtfully examine the tangible proof from these tablets. Numerous ancient Sumerian writings, such as those discovered within the remains of cities like Ur and Uruk, depict the Anunnaki in detail. These texts consistently stress their provenance from above, representing these entities with humanoid characteristics but phenomenal capacities. In several accounts, the Anunnaki directly engage with humans, disseminating knowledge, molding societies, and in certain instances instigating significant historical occurrences like deluges and city construction. Intriguingly, these depictions occasionally resemble less like deities and more like advanced persons transmitting particular technical directions. The Epic of Atrahasis, an ancient Sumerian and Babylonian legend, describes these beings counseling humanity on irrigation and farming with astonishingly exact pragmatic detail. Likewise, the myth of Enki and Ninmah recounts the intentional design and administration of humankind, implying entities with highly developed comprehension of biology and genetics, albeit expressed metaphorically. It is effortless to reject such records as purely allegorical myths. After all, many cultures employ mythology to explain intricate phenomena in simpler terms. However, the accuracy and uniformity of these accounts provoke compelling inquiries. Could these ancient stories be twisted recollections of something phenomenal yet entirely human? Or perhaps something else entirely? In the 20th century, an author named Zecharia Sitchin propelled these questions into widespread awareness. Sitchin postulated that the Anunnaki described in Sumerian tablets were not merely symbolic gods, but instead visitors from another world, specifically one he termed Nibiru. According to Sitchin's contentious interpretations, these visitors influenced humanity directly, teaching abilities and advanced knowledge that dramatically hastened human advancement. Now, it is vital to clarify something essential. Established scholars almost unanimously dismiss Sitchin's theories. His translations are contested, and many linguists contend he misinterpreted or magnified crucial passages. Prominent specialists in Sumerian language and culture underscore that no legitimate academic evidence corroborates the literal interpretation of the Anunnaki as alien visitors. Yet, despite the profound doubt, Sitchin's work connected with numerous readers globally. Why? Perhaps because it accessed something more profound: our inherent inquisitiveness regarding human origins and the unexplained puzzles of our past. And to be equitable, some legitimate historical enigmas, like the Sumerians' advanced understanding and abrupt cultural appearance, still confound historians. Even esteemed academics concede that gaps persist in our comprehension. Let us pause to inspect another interesting perspective that anchors these theories in historical context. Some mainstream historians have recognized that ancient societies sometimes encountered more advanced cultures through exploration, trade, or migration, resulting in dramatic progressions forward. For example, early European civilizations gained immensely from interactions with advanced societies in the Middle East, Africa, and Asia. Could the Sumerians similarly have met an unfamiliar advanced group? Perhaps travelers from a faraway territory whose sophisticated technologies seemed divine. Ancient cultures routinely perceived visitors with unfamiliar technology or knowledge as celestial or supernatural. When Europeans first reached the Americas, many indigenous peoples initially viewed them as gods due to their technology and appearance. Could a comparable misunderstanding have occurred millennia earlier in Sumer? Perhaps the entities from above in Sumerian myths were simply visitors from a distant region, still human but remarkably advanced relative to the early Sumerians. Let us briefly revisit the archaeological context again. Sumer existed at the intersection of countless trade routes connecting Africa, Asia, and Europe. It is plausible that travelers or settlers from distant, unknown cultures could have shared knowledge unfamiliar and astounding to the Sumerians. Over time, these encounters might have been mythologized into stories of heavenly beings with extraordinary wisdom and capabilities. Yet, even this grounded explanation still does not completely resolve every mystery. The precision and detail in certain Sumerian texts continue to perplex scholars. Why did they consistently portray their knowledge as instructed by beings descending from the sky? Could this simply be symbolic imagery? Or might it propose something else entirely, a historical event distorted over generations? Let us be exceedingly clear. Proposing extraterrestrial visitors influenced ancient civilizations is contentious and unverified. But history perpetually astonishes us. Merely decades ago, the notion of a sophisticated civilization dating back 12,000 years, as Göbekli Tepe now demonstrates, would have appeared impossible. Could something analogous be concealed behind these Sumerian stories? Something we have not entirely revealed yet? We must acknowledge there exists a genuine enigma here. While mainstream archaeology appropriately emphasizes caution, skepticism, and rigorous evidence, ancient myths frequently contain fragments of truth, memories of real events that became exaggerated or symbolic over time. If we approach these ancient stories not as literal descriptions of aliens landing on Earth, but rather as distorted historical memories, could we move nearer to understanding the authentic reality behind them? One intriguing Sumerian artifact known as the cylinder seal VA-243, often referenced in these debates, appears to illustrate the solar system with remarkable accuracy at a time when telescopes did not exist. While scholars dispute whether it is genuinely a depiction of the planets, this seal continues to captivate researchers. Could the seal represent astronomical knowledge taught by visitors? Or was it simply symbolic, misinterpreted today? As extravagant as these ideas may appear, they raise some genuinely captivating questions. Certainly, the notion of ancient visitors arriving from the sky sounds like something directly extracted from a science fiction film. But the specifics concealed in these Sumerian tablets still leave historians pondering deeply. Could these ancient myths actually contain faint memories of real events, real people, or even something we have not entirely conceived yet? Now, do not misunderstand me. There exists no concrete evidence of flying saucers landing in ancient Mesopotamia. But history is replete with surprises, and each year we uncover something that compels us to reevaluate everything we believed we understood. Could the truth hidden in these ancient stories be stranger and more astounding than anyone has realized? Remain engaged because we are about to delve more profoundly. And believe me, you will not desire to overlook what approaches next. We have already witnessed how astonishingly sophisticated the Sumerian grasp of astronomy and mathematics proved to be. Yet this guides us to the most profound puzzle of all. How precisely did they obtain such exact understanding? Historians typically rationalize this as merely successive generations of meticulous scrutiny and repeated experimentation. But does that justification sufficiently account for every detail? Consider the matter from this perspective. The Sumerian people were not merely idly watching stars. They were correctly charting the heavens, forecasting planetary motions, and executing mathematical computations so progressive that it required millennia for subsequent societies to match their level. Asserting they accomplished all of this purely via observation appears to disregard just how astounding their achievements truly were. Numerous established archaeologists propose that devoted groups of ancient astronomers dedicated their existences to methodically examining the skies, transmitting their wisdom down through innumerable generations. Envision ancient teams of stargazers diligently recording each planetary location evening after evening, year following year, gradually discerning patterns across extensive spans of time. This explanation undoubtedly appears reasonable. It might clarify how their comprehension progressively enhanced. Yet a complication persists. How could the Sumerian civilization accurately monitor delicate planetary movements absent telescopes or contemporary instruments? These were not elementary stellar arrangements. These were intricate astronomical cycles and precise mathematical operations, some of which stay notably correct even in the present day. Could diligent scrutiny alone completely explain their detailed awareness? This unresolved query directs us toward another fascinating hypothesis: cultural dissemination. This notion proposes that advanced understanding propagates from one society to another via interactions such as commerce, migration, or exploration. Is it feasible that the Sumerian people inherited portions of their astronomy and mathematics from even more ancient, now lost civilizations? Consider the enigmatic archaeological location Göbekli Tepe in present-day Turkey as an illustration. Uncovered during the 1990s, this ancient site exceeds 11,000 years in age, significantly older than Sumer, and displays skillfully sculpted stone monoliths and refined architecture constructed during an era historians believed humans were merely basic hunter-gatherers. Could civilizations like those accountable for Göbekli Tepe have transmitted significant knowledge eventually arriving to the Sumerian populace? It is also vital to recall that ancient Mesopotamia functioned as a principal junction linking Asia, Africa, and Europe. Sumerian urban centers routinely welcomed traders and voyagers from distant territories. Through these contacts, concepts, knowledge, and technology could have been exchanged, combined, and refined. Perhaps the Sumerian civilization did not devise their impressive astronomy and mathematics entirely independently. They might have progressively assembled it from information shared by various cultures they met. Let us picture just how transformative their mathematical capabilities were. The Sumerian society utilized geometric principles thousands of years before the Greeks gained renown for geometry. Long before mathematicians such as Pythagoras emerged, the Sumerians were already implementing advanced geometry in the erection of remarkable structures like their ziggurats and complex irrigation networks. Their comprehension was not merely progressive. It was essentially revolutionary. Nevertheless, we must also examine the ancient Sumerian myths themselves, particularly tales of the Anunnaki, beings portrayed as descending from the skies and instructing humanity in advanced abilities and understanding. Naturally, most historians instinctively interpret these narratives as symbolic folklore intended to explain the beginnings of their society in a poetic manner. However, it is striking how intimately the detailed teachings described within these myths correspond with the authentic archaeological proof we have uncovered. Could it be that these ancient stories retain twisted recollections of real historical interactions? Imagine early humans meeting an advanced culture whose technology or knowledge appeared nearly magical to them. They might have characterized such meetings metaphorically as deities arriving from the heavens, imparting wisdom and direction. To be explicit, mainstream historians stay doubtful about accepting these myths literally. Yet, even skeptics concede that myths frequently contain kernels of historical reality. Perhaps these Sumerian stories, even if magnified, hold minor fragments of genuine historical occurrences or encounters we have not yet fully comprehended. Throughout history, human societies have often progressed through interactions and cultural exchanges. Each era builds upon understanding from those who preceded them. Why should the Sumerian people be any exception? Maybe their impressive astronomical and mathematical talents were not purely self-created. They might have partially inherited them from earlier civilizations or compiled knowledge from varied cultural contacts over time. Still, even with cultural dissemination or inherited understanding considered, something about the Sumerians' exact comprehension seems uniquely advanced. Excessively advanced, some may argue, to originate solely from careful observation and interaction alone. Could their tablets mirror events or meetings outside the conventional explanations historians typically provide? Mainstream academics understandably pause to consider such unconventional ideas. However, recent discoveries like Göbekli Tepe continually remind us how little we genuinely understand about our remote past. Could older civilizations, now vanished or forgotten, have left behind understanding that eventually reached the Sumerian people? This presents us with three captivating potentialities. First, the conventional explanation generations of patient observation alone. Second, cultural dissemination knowledge inherited through trade or older civilizations. Or third, something more phenomenal, that the ancient myths describing beings descending from the heavens might contain some real historical nucleus, however misinterpreted or exaggerated. The final possibility might appear improbable initially, but history abounds with surprises that contest our presumptions. After all, merely decades ago, a site like Göbekli Tepe would have seemed impossible. Today it is broadly acknowledged. Perhaps the Sumerian civilization acquired their impressive knowledge not through mere fortunate conjectures, but through real historical interactions or events we have not entirely revealed yet. As we advance, question yourself this: could the Sumerians' detailed astronomical understanding and mathematical ingenuity truly have originated solely from observation and trial and error? Or might they have learned from interactions, forgotten civilizations, or even misunderstood encounters that history has not fully clarified yet? Could it even be plausible their instructors were something or someone we have not completely envisioned? Remain viewing, because what follows next might transform your entire viewpoint on human history. When excavators initially deciphered the archaic Sumerian tablets, a singular term surfaced repeatedly, seizing universal fascination: the Anunnaki. In basic terms, Anunnaki signifies those who descended from the firmament, or occasionally merely those of noble lineage. Yet who, or perhaps even what, were these enigmatic entities detailed so meticulously millennia ago? As per the Sumerian people, the Anunnaki were formidable personas who arrived from the sky and performed an essential function in directing and forming human society. They held the belief that the Anunnaki dwelled far above in a location beyond mortal access, yet perpetually affected occurrences on our planet. From this lofty stance, these beings reportedly distributed knowledge, presented novel abilities, and directly meddled in the existences of common individuals. Among the many Anunnaki referenced in ancient tablets, three are prominent: Anu, Enlil, and Enki. Anu was regarded as the paramount chief, a deity of the heavens who generally watched humankind from a distance. Visualize him as a remote, sagacious sovereign who observed attentively but seldom became personally entangled. Then exists Enlil, the offspring of Anu, who could not have been more dissimilar. Frequently portrayed as mighty and severe, Enlil directly molded human endeavors. He was the god linked with atmosphere, tempests, and command, often engaging with humans and regularly holding them responsible for their conduct. In fact, Sumerian writings attribute enormous ruinous deluges to Enlil, happenings he employed to purify humanity when individuals grew bothersome or defiant. If this narrative appears recognizable, that is because it intimately resembles inundation legends located in other societies, encompassing the scriptural tale of Noah. Lastly, there is Enki, likely the most captivating Anunnaki of all. Recognized as the god of water, intellect, and creation, Enki was depicted as benevolent and safeguarding. According to ancient texts, Enki authentically cared about humankind, frequently assisting people in learning fundamental skills like farming, irrigation, construction, and metal craftsmanship. One notable story portrays Enki instructing people on how to build progressive irrigation networks, effectively converting arid, infertile terrain into productive agricultural land. And remarkably, archaeological confirmation verifies that the Sumerian populace indeed constructed intricate irrigation channels that transformed their surroundings and vastly enhanced their standard of living. In one especially engrossing myth titled The Council of the Gods, Sumerian tablets describe the Anunnaki conducting grave deliberations regarding humanity's destiny. Enlil, irritated by humans being loud and insubordinate, intended to dispatch a calamitous flood to eliminate them. Enki, however, covertly interceded to rescue humanity, cautioning a protagonist about the looming catastrophe and advising him on how to endure. The correspondences between this Sumerian flood legend and comparable narratives globally have enthralled historians, leaving them pondering if there might be more than mere chance involved here. Intriguingly, these potent Anunnaki were not portrayed simply as remote deities lacking human sentiments. Instead, the tablets graphically depict them as intricate beings with identifiable emotions. They disputed, felt envy, displayed empathy, and even underwent remorse. These astonishingly human attributes contribute profundity and allure to their myths, elevating a significant query. Were the Sumerian civilizations merely fabricating inventive tales, or were they describing something more profound, potentially even authentic historical happenings? Throughout ancient Mesopotamia, archaeologists have revealed innumerable tablets and artistic engravings vividly illustrating humans interacting intimately with the Anunnaki. Certain images even display these beings utilizing tools or apparatus that appear surprisingly progressive, inciting historians to question whether the myths mirror exaggerated but legitimate recollections of meetings with advanced cultures. Could it be that these captivating stories are not just symbolic folklore or sacred customs, but twisted historical memories of real interactions? Perhaps the Anunnaki were visitors from another territory or culture, still human yet more technologically advanced, leading the Sumerian people to perceive them as heavenly personas. Or perhaps the Sumerians' records were swayed by knowledge inherited from a vanished civilization we have yet to completely uncover. Archaeological proof continues adding strata to this enigma. Sumerian tablets incorporate advanced astronomical computations, complex mathematics, and sophisticated engineering concepts, understanding they expressly ascribe to instructions from the Anunnaki. While most established historians stay prudent about interpreting myths literally, they admit that the particulars described coincide impressively with archaeological discoveries. Whether viewed as deities, symbolic analogies, or historical personalities remembered in legend, there exists no uncertainty that the Anunnaki have deeply molded our perception of Sumerian culture and human chronicle. Their narratives influenced not only ancient Sumer but resonated through later societies, becoming a portion of a broader human inheritance. Yet here resides the inquiry we cannot disregard. If these Anunnaki figures did educate humanity with advanced abilities and knowledge, precisely how did they accomplish it? Did they personally shepherd early civilizations, transmit progressive teachings indirectly? Or is there another clarification entirely, one we have not yet revealed? Stay attentive, because what we investigate next could disclose understandings into history that are even more peculiar and considerably more captivating than anything we have contemplated thus far. Picture yourself endeavoring to assemble an immense ancient jigsaw, yet half the fragments are absent, and the directives are inscribed in tongues nobody entirely comprehends. That is precisely the circumstance historians and excavators confront when managing ancient Sumerian culture and the enigmatic Anunnaki. Certainly, we have uncovered thousands of clay tablets, exquisitely carved relics, and incredibly detailed narratives, yet we remain nowhere close to possessing the complete image. And to render matters even more challenging, specialists frequently cannot even concur on what the finished puzzle should resemble. Therefore, let us plunge into several of these academic disputes. One primary zone of disagreement centers upon translations. Deciphering ancient writings is not akin to converting French or Spanish into English. Languages such as Sumerian have not been vocalized for millennia, and words often possess multiple definitions. Even minor variances in translations can result in completely different understandings. For instance, scholars still dispute over the exact significance of phrases describing the Anunnaki. Do they literally signify entities who descended from the heavens, or is that merely poetic language intended to emphasize royal standing or divine approval? It is a nuanced distinction, but the ramifications are enormous. And discussing translation controversies, let us briefly mention Zecharia Sitchin, probably the most renowned and definitely the most contentious translator of Sumerian texts. Sitchin popularized the notion that the Anunnaki were extraterrestrial visitors who journeyed to Earth and shared advanced knowledge with humans. While his publications enthralled millions of readers, most mainstream academics are quite doubtful regarding his translations. In reality, many linguists contend Sitchin misinterpreted pivotal terms and ideas to suit his hypotheses. Yet, despite these censures, his interpretations continue to ignite discussion, demonstrating just how complex ancient languages can be. Beyond translation, another immense problem historians encounter is lacunae in the archaeological record itself. Ponder it. We are depending on clay tablets and artifacts unearthed thousands of years after they were interred. Innumerable tablets have been impaired, ruined, or stay buried underneath sand and earth. Even the most excellently preserved tablets seldom recount entire stories. Imagine discovering a few pages ripped from the middle of a book lacking a cover or conclusion. You are left speculating about the larger narrative. And that is exactly what archaeologists face. Owing to this fragmented record, scholars often debate how literally we should accept these ancient writings. For example, the Sumerian people described planets and stars with startling precision, sometimes even alluding to celestial bodies we did not officially discover until contemporary times. Could they truly have known about planets imperceptible to the unaided eye? For instance, in some tablets interpreted by Sitchin and others, there exists mention of a remote planet, occasionally termed Nibiru, that purportedly orbits far beyond our current solar system's recognized planets. Presently, mainstream astronomers firmly reject the existence of such a planet. Yet, the Sumerians distinctly described certain cosmic phenomena that modern science only acknowledged thousands of years later. That is authentically perplexing and difficult to simply disregard. This is precisely where matters become captivating. Even mainstream historians who vehemently disagree with extraterrestrial hypotheses recognize the genuine mysteries embedded within these tablets. Many are comfortable ascribing Sumerian astronomical accuracy to dedicated observation. However, even the most skeptical scholars admit some facets remain authentically baffling. How could ancient sky watchers without telescopes or contemporary apparatus monitor planetary movements so precisely, record exact lunar cycles, and anticipate astronomical occurrences? Intriguingly, while investigators continue debating these enigmas, there exists a peculiar reluctance among mainstream archaeological circles to profoundly explore several of these unresolved questions. Now, we are not discussing conspiracy theories here. Rather, it concerns the prudent, conservative character of academia. Within professional spheres, Theories that diverge significantly from established historical timelines risk being rapidly labeled as fringe or unscientific. Historians and archaeologists depend heavily on evidence and established methodologies. Thus, it is understandable that they are cautious. Yet does this cautious approach occasionally hinder genuinely fascinating avenues of inquiry? For instance, consider Gobekli Tepe, uncovered merely a few decades ago, which utterly overturned our presumptions about ancient human capabilities. Prior to its discovery, experts confidently believed humans were not constructing complex structures 11,000 years ago. Yet, Gobekli Tepe's sophisticated stone monoliths demonstrated that civilization was far more ancient and far more advanced than previously conceived. Could analogous discoveries still be awaiting beneath the sands of Mesopotamia, prepared to rewrite history again? This elevates an essential rhetorical question worth reiterating. Should we dismiss these ancient accounts entirely simply because they are difficult to interpret? Or should we continue excavating more profoundly? The history of archaeology itself illustrates that dismissing peculiar or unusual discoveries often results in overlooking crucial insights. After all, many ideas initially classified as far-fetched eventually became mainstream once additional proof materialized. It is also vital to contemplate how firmly ancient cultures believed in their myths. The Sumerians did not view these stories as casual fables. They were central to their lives, integrated into everything from spiritual ceremonies to agriculture and urban design. Could their profound belief imply these stories contained some genuine historical recollection, however distorted or exaggerated? Let us entertain another fascinating illustration. The Sumerians' remarkable mathematical system, based on the numeral 60. To us, employing 60 might appear arbitrary, but it is a highly effective mathematical framework that simplifies complex computations and fractions, especially beneficial in astronomy. We still utilize remnants of it today: minutes, seconds, and 360-degree circles. Where did the Sumerian populace obtain such a practical yet intricate mathematical method? Was it entirely their invention? Or did they adapt it from an even earlier culture whose identity we have not fully uncovered yet? This concept of older, lost civilizations influencing Sumer is not as absurd as it might sound. Human history has recurrently demonstrated that cultures build upon earlier foundations. Before the Greeks erected their temples, the Egyptians constructed pyramids. Before the Egyptians, the Sumerian people built ziggurats, and before the Sumerians, could there have been even more ancient societies now forgotten whose wisdom influenced early civilizations in ways we have yet to fully comprehend? Thus, let us revisit that significant inquiry. Why does mainstream archaeology appear hesitant to investigate these mysteries further? Portion of it might be academic caution, evading anything resembling sensationalism or pseudoscience. Portion could simply be pragmatic. Without clear evidence, it is difficult to justify extensive research. However, perhaps another element is the apprehension of fundamentally altering our accepted comprehension of human history. After all, rewriting textbooks, rethinking entire civilizations, and contesting deeply held academic convictions is not a minor task. So, here we are after exploring ancient tablets, puzzling archaeological discoveries, and Sumerian myths that still leave historians pondering deeply. We have examined closely the incredible astronomical knowledge, detailed mathematics, and mysterious stories of beings who descended from the heavens. Clearly, the Sumerians knew far more than we would anticipate from a civilization that flourished thousands of years before telescopes or computers. But who or what were the Anunnaki truly? Were they genuinely gods who influenced human history? Purely symbolic myths, or possibly distorted memories of something even stranger? Ultimately, it is your decision to make. The evidence is here, meticulously presented. Yet historians themselves still debate the truth. Perhaps the most important takeaway is this: ancient history is not a closed book. It is an ongoing mystery inviting new interpretations and constant discovery. And if ancient history genuinely conceals mysteries like these, then what else might we have misunderstood? What other secrets are interred just beneath the sands, waiting to rewrite everything we believe we know? If you enjoyed plunging deep into ancient history's greatest enigmas, ensure you subscribe because we are just commencing. From Atlantis to lost civilizations and countless other unsolved puzzles, we are always exploring. Select that subscribe button for Forbidden Fathoms, activate notifications, and accompany us as we voyage deeper into the mysteries of our past. Because the deeper we gaze, the clearer one thing becomes. Perhaps human history is far more extraordinary and astonishing than we have ever imagined,